Good morning, everyone. Have a cup of coffee with me, and let's talk for a moment. Oh, wait a minute, you can't talk back. There's always the comment section. I wanted to talk for a minute about dopamine, the body's dopamine system, if you will. And I'm not going to get into scientific details about this, nor am I going to sit here and pretend like I know everything about how the body chemistry works. But I'd like to pose a question is, do you feel that your happiness is at the level it should be? Now when I say that, I mean that, here, I'm going to move over here a little bit because it's easier. I don't want to wake my neighbor up in case she's still sleeping. It's a really beautiful day out here. Let's stay out in the middle of the yard. Her window's like right there, and I don't know if she's sleeping or not. What is dopamine? First off, dopamine is the chemical in your brain produces to make you feel good. And one of the, I think, difficult thing for people to understand is that dopamine itself, is not. For example, I've been taking that Mucuna, which is L-Dopa, which turns into or metabolizes into dopamine in the brain, but only in small amounts. So what my question here, before I go too far into it, is how do you know if you have low dopamine levels? Now, I've always been under the impression that I'm a happy person, and I feel like a happy person. I don't feel depressed. And whenever I look up the signs of depression or the signs of low dopamine or low serotonin, they don't resonate with me because I consider myself a happy, content person. I don't sleep long hours. I'm always thinking positive. I'm always seeing the good sides in things, and life is just always a wonderful mystery to me. So I ask myself, because over the last few days taking Mucuna, my levels have been up to the point where I feel super fantastic. Not high in any way, but on a natural feeling, the way I used to feel, or the way I feel is normal, the way that I think that would be normal for me. But here I am comparing this feeling to my prior experiences, taking various compounds and whatnot, and asking myself, am I just, put it this way, is taking a supplement, or taking an herb to increase these levels, is it harmful or beneficial? And that's totally, up to the individual to do the research on. I mean, there will always be somebody to tell you, well, if you have to take something to feel better, then if you take it long term, then you're going to suffer in the long run. And this is often true, but it's not always true. So for a person who may gain and benefit from it greatly, here's where I'm at, and this is why I wanted to make this, to see if other people who are in my situation can relate. I love life. I love getting up. I love people. I love seeing what's going on in the world. I love getting out and just exploring and traveling and doing things, and I feel great about it. Everything, is fantastic, except for I have two main problems. I should say, one of them would be a lack of motivation, and I don't mean motivation to do anything. I have strong motivation when it's something I want to do, or if it's something I know I have to do, like I'm trimming weed and I get really into it, or I'm doing some gardening or building something, I can get extremely into it and bust my ass and do a fine job. It's getting motivated to do things that I really need to do, but I don't want to do. It's a matter of things that, I'll put that off till tomorrow. Procrastination. And that can be a depressing thing. Because then you sit there and you have all these things build up that you need to do. I have had low motivation to do things that I'm supposed to do. I've had a low appetite, which is a major issue, because if you're not eating properly, you're not getting the nutrients and food you need in order to, and I do drink my smoothies. I get enough nutrients, but I don't eat enough fatty food, and I don't eat enough solid food, I guess, because smoothies just don't always cut it. But I'm following my body and my heart, and I'm doing the best I can. I've never been that much of a person with a high libido or a high sex drive. It's just never been in the cards. I've just, I'm pretty distracted with other things. Here's the thing I've noticed about after taking Mucuna for 4 days. My appetite is up. My sleep amount is down. I feel even better about the small things. I feel motivated to do the things that I need to do, even if they're things I don't want to do. And my sex drive is up. At least it seems like it's going up. And I've realized that I fit perfectly, the description of someone with low dopamine levels. And of course, smoking cannabis in my younger years may have attributed to that. My brain chemistry could be different. I've always been a hyperactive kind of person. I had a lot of acne when I was younger, and for people who have had acne, you know how debilitating it can be when you're in high school. But because every zit is just the end of the world to me. I just got used to it. It's just how I lived. I learned to get past my face and my ego and just say, this is who I am. And maybe that was a contributing factor to being who I am now. But that those who have had acne like that tend to be much more intensive people, or people who have overactive endocrine system, I guess, which tend to be more intense people. The people who I've met, a lot of people who have serious acne tend to be very outspoken, smart people. Maybe this is why it's attributed to the nerd class. I don't know. But anyway, years later, looking back on it, I realized that my overactive system puts me in a particular classification of people. Meaning some herbs will work for me and some won't. So I won't take antidepressants or drugs, pharmaceuticals, because I believe that the all-encompassing benefits of using herbs, they're kind of an all-inclusive thing. Now, it depends on how much do you trust nature over man. It's a personal choice. What are the long-term, maybe detriments to taking supplements that maybe increase your dopamine level? I don't know. Sure, you can get serotonin syndrome if you're taking too many SSRIs and blocking your serotonin uptake, and I'm sure there's a dopamine flood that you can get too, but generally these natural substances, the herbs in their raw form, don't allow an overload, and I think it's up to the person to... There's always going to be somebody who's going to say, if you take this long term, it's going to harm you. And so, people said that about cannabis too. So I think what it comes down to is quality of life now. That's really what I wanted to get to. It's like people are afraid to take supplements or drugs because they're afraid of getting addicted, or afraid of what might happen tomorrow, or how they might feel in a couple of years from now. When I was in pain and I was suffering bad with sciatica, Kratom saved my life. I mean, it allowed me to work, it allowed me to function and do the things I wanted. And I felt guilty about it. Why? I have no reason to believe that Kratom is harmful. They've been used for 1,000 years by the indigenous, peoples down there in Asia. And I thought, well, it seems similar to opiates. Opiates are addictive. Opiates can harm you, therefore Kratom must be able to harm you. And, 6 years later, I've been able to actually decrease the doses I've taken and take less and less. It seems to be less important. It's one of those things that comes up when you need it. And once you learn your herbs, then you'll learn that they'll speak to you. And so if you have a low dopamine, you might not even know it. And if you tend to look at things negatively all the time, you may have low serotonin levels or low dopamine, but I guess I'll put it this way. Much of the behavior we have is learned, and much of it is what's created in our brains about the way we think things are, and then some of it is created by the substances that we consume. Drugs are in all the foods we eat, everything, so just get used to it. You can't avoid it. Our brains are constantly altering chemistry. You can't break away from all of it. So I encourage anybody with low motivation, low libido, or who still has a general sense of well-being, to question whether you have low dopamine or not. Because I think that many of us don't even realize the problems that we have until we've solved them. Or attempted to. So, namaste, everybody. And hope you all enjoy